We're live. Okay, welcome to the latest edition of the Friday Nooner for today, Friday, February 5th, 2021 at noon.
Yes.
And about a minute. So I'm Pete McIntyre, the managing editor of GrepBeat. With me I wouldn't say as always because you weren't here last week.
No, I was not.
But the GrepBeat godfather, Joe Colopy. How are you? Good to have you back.
I am back. And just in the spirit of spreading the Brookspell gospel about people should get colonoscopies, I recently had a big birthday, and I had that. So I don't think anyone want to be wishing me, but it's kind of an awkward subject, but important to get it done. So if you are a certain age and younger,
that's why you were not here last Friday. I had asked you beforehand whether that was public information or not, so I kind of didn't address it directly.
Well, yeah,
I wasn't sure how.
Well, no, that's a probably.
I was telling everyone. I think I might have mentioned it in GrepBeat.
I think you printed up shirts, but that's fine.
Yeah, I did actually mention it in GrepBeat because I was sort of piggybacking off Brooks's call.
We have to, and Brooks is doing a great job spreading the word, demystify these things. And I'm getting the right. You're a good writer. What's the right word? Destigmify?
Yes, destigmatize.
That's what I'm looking for. That's what we need to do. So, anyways, all clear. In fact, the doctor and little note said I did a great job. So I'm
excellent.
Really proud of that.
I got excellent. Excellent.
I did excellent. There was excellent preparation.
Yes. I don't know. Maybe great.
For those of you who've been through it, you'll know what I mean. For those of you who haven't, something to look forward to, but you gotta get it done. So
look forward to
it.
All right, let's kick this off. So the one thing I wanted to mention, so just in the last 2 weeks, two of the startups we profiled, the founders have just moved here within the last few months. One from Denver and one a couple, a wife and husband team. I changed it. It said husband and wife team, but then mentioned her first. Like, well, shouldn't I call that wife and husband? I'm equal opportunity. Anyway, they moved here from the Bay Area. And actually Jessica Mitch of Momentum reached out to me after the first one and said, hey, I've been compiling, she and some other folks, a running Google Doc of people who have moved to this area recently to try to be a welcoming committee and to kind of get them together for networking, which is how we met, sort of. How you and I met?
Well, sort of. I mean, you were kind of new to the area.
Jessica Mitch
you're on. Well, no, not that part. I guess that was the key detail. But all right, continue.
All right, yeah. Now I've lost the entire train of thought. No, the train of thought is, one, just sort of the broader topic of folks moving here and starting companies, whether they've already had a company or they're the kinds of folks that might start companies. Is that really, in fact, more of it happening now, or even just backing up? So why did you move here? Because you're not from here.
That's true. I am from the great state of Ohio. I am a prodigal son of Akron.
Yeah,
which
you and
my family's
LeBron.
been for multiple generations. Yes, LeBron. In addition to Chrissy Hines of the Pretenders, who went to my high school, did not graduate, and a member of Devo, and a few other a few members of the Black Keys, by the way.
You wanted for high schools? Tony Fauci, baby.
Okay, there we go.
He's big.
He is.
Okay, sorry.
Anyways, I heard when you get the vaccine, kids call it the Fauci ouchie.
Oh, really? Okay.
So
kids aren't getting it. You mean like people in their 20s, or who are these kids?
Well, I don't know. That's what
young at heart people,
to, I guess. So coming back to the topic,
Right.
So I moved here in 96, right? So I graduated college in kind of the early 90s, spent a number of years overseas. And I moved here to this Raleigh-Durham area, or Durham, really the Triangle, not really knowing much about the area. I never really spent any time in North Carolina, only because at the time in the 90s, this area was a very popular place to live. And I think that trend has started in the early 90s, is continued, right? It was best place to live in the country. It was still East Coast. It was a nice mix of technology and kind of jobs. It was a great university scene. So there is a core story, which I think has been attracting people to the Triangle for a while. And what's nice about it is we've been able to kind of tweak and reinvent that story in a good way. So that trend has kept on continuing. So you look at a place like this, where the population keeps on increasing. A lot more people are migrating here from Ohio and from New York, New Jersey, and all those kind of places. And we're continuing to see that. And now I think we're seeing even a little bit more from Silicon Valley, which is California, because we continue to be a great place. And quite honestly, San Francisco and the Bay Area has been less appealing of recent times. So I think there are actually a lot of stories people who moved here who had very light to no connection here that later on in their own ways really contributed to the tech community. And you can even what we should do, you can even talk about different tech companies, pick like the big names in the last 10 years or 20 years. And you can often tie a lot of those people, the founders, people who are not from here, that moved here for a reason that was kind of indirect, that speaks to what are things we could do to grow the area. And you look at these things and you're like, they went to NC State for grad school, or which might have been Wingo's case, I don't know. Or if you look at Red Hat, Mark Ewing, who is the CTO, the main founder actually of Red Hat, more than Bob Young, he moved here, he went to Carnegie Mellon, and he was working here as part of IBM as like kind of a young engineer, right? If IBM wasn't here back in the day, Red Hat wouldn't have been here. So,
right. Well, you said that best place to live. Were you talking, you literally found it on like one of those lists?
Yeah. So I forget who does it, US News, who does the best? It used to be
there's a bunch of different ones.
It wasn't just one, but it was, for me, I was living overseas, and my girlfriend, now wife, and we're going to move back to the United States. We wanted to I have a few brothers in the Bay Area, considered that, but we wanted someplace that was warmer than Northeast Ohio, warmer than Boston, right? And New England, and but still had seasons and kind of a good growth area and kind of a university feel. And if you kind of limit that and you want to be East Coast in particular, it's kind of a short list, right? And this seemed to have a great mix. I was thinking about grad school. I wanted someplace that was similar to what I grew up with, but maybe kind of more up and coming.
So the fact that UNC and Duke were here was a factor for you,
The only school I knew about here was Duke. I didn't really know anything about UNC. I didn't know anything about NC State. I only knew.
But for business school, were you already sort of thinking of that as a possibility?
I was thinking about it, and I moved here as a because I knew I might go to Duke. I ended up not even applying to Duke. But yeah, I didn't really even know anything about Chapel Hill or NC State. I never heard of.
I moved here from Chicago. I was co-founder of a startup up there, and we ran out of money several times, actually. But because my whole family has, like everyone from New York, has moved to Raleigh over time. So my parents, that's why I moved to this area. Yeah,
so your sister,
my sister.
So
I told her you should watch this because you get name checked.
Oh yeah,
she's like, what? Why would I come?
So my wife Carolyn and Claire used to work together. I can't remember, is it ASI or back in the early 2000s or something, like late 90s? And if I remember correctly, Claire was kind of on the HR side. Is that right?
She was at that time.
And then my wife was kind of answered the phones for some national environmental hotline where all those people would call up with their crazy stories, but valid, that they were got exposed to some chemicals in their neighbor. Someone poured something down the alley, and now they have an allergic reaction. Like, what's wrong? And it was a clearinghouse. They had some type of contract with NIHS. Anyways, everything comes together.
Yeah.
Here we are.
Well, I mean, I'm curious though. It would be interesting to see why people, and we can hear. Perhaps people want to comment how they ended up here, because
Yes.
How could we facilitate? Like, is there much that, say, we at GrepBeat, or obviously there are, the city governments and Chamber of Commerce that are,
Sure.
CEDs, NCIDs that are trying actively to get,
Yes.
obviously they're trying to get big businesses, but for our perspective, whether people have startups already, which in these two cases that we talked about, Euro and ByteBase, or they're just more generally the kinds of people who might work in tech, who might someday start a business like yourself, or others. Are there things that we can do more?
I think there are things you do from top down, which governments can do with incentives, state incentives, and there's a lot of mixed opinion about that. But larger nonprofits can do to kind of profile the area. Getting these media things are very helpful. Tax incentives, but I think the bottom up is actually it's harder to calculate, but actually more impactful. And so, how do you create an environment that is appealing to the people who are going to start a business or join a business or help grow a business? And we have a lot of the great elements. I actually think things like GrepBeat, one of the reasons why we do this is so if someone is interested in the tech industry and they know they want to move to the Triangle, they're already in the Triangle, maybe new, it's kind of a one-stop shop to get immersed in all things community and sort out what's going on in a much more concentrated way than one might get if they're just looking at the News and Observer, which is fine, but like it's a little bit of everything. And so having things like media, I think, do help. Having events do help. All the little things which are hard to calculate ROI, but aggregate people or aggregate stories, I think are helpful.
I will say, before I moved here, I talked, among other things, like literally before I moved, to George Deeb, who is
from Chicago as well.
From Chicago, and he was still sort of straddling. And one of the things he told me that I did was read the Tweener. So Scott Lingo obviously his list of starting. I was interested in startups, and so I went down. I mean, that was a great list, and I could see which ones that maybe I could sell myself towards. And just giving a lot of names for people to track down. I think that was one of the main. I signed up for TBJ, and now of course everyone say you need to get GrepBeat, but which is also a little more bite-sized, and TechWire.
Jan agrees with your comment, by the way.
Yes, and GrepBeat is a great overview for people who are considering the Triangle. She's forwarded it.
If anyone else wants to put some compliments on there, we will showcase that. If you have criticism, somehow those don't always make it.
Here's a question for you and for the audience. What are there more things that GrepBeat could be doing to bring the outside in, and with the important caveat that it doesn't mean more work for me? Okay, so it does make my life harder.
That's great. I love hearing that.
I'm just being honest.
Truth to power, right?
Right. We've got some interns right here, right now. We could just tell them, right? I can pick it up.
Well, I mean, I obviously, I have opinions, and so that's one of the reasons why we do GrepBeat and do the things we do is to help it make it clearer for people. And I think doing it via media is sometimes hard to calculate IRR on that ROI, but it's very effective.
Right.
But we're always open to ideas of more things we
have become a little friendlier recently with Hypopotamus. I mentioned them again in the text
so I
the other
spoke
day.
to the founder of that today, and the Hype is the
Hypopotamus.
But Hype is with
just Hype to its friends.
Yeah. So Christina, that we know and love, it also has recommended this. So we want to thank her for promoting it and then having them sign up for your newsletter, which you write. Yes. Actually, you spend time actually doing. So
I do. Yes.
Thank you, Pete, for.
I spend up time right until when I send it out, and really through when, in theory, I send it out. So I've been blowing through the noon It was 11:30. It keeps sliding. Within a year or two, it'll be like 5 p.m.
Well, the Friday nooner will kind of.
Oh, the Friday nooner is right.
Well, I know that kind
at
of keeps us
noon.
honest.
Right.
'Cause we
Yeah,
don't
because
have
that's
to
why
Friday
I'm thankful
Wednesday.
we didn't call it like the Grepbeat noon newsletter, because then you're pretty much locked in.
Yeah,
If
big
it's like
change.
afternoon, I just said lunchtime. So maybe some people eat a little later than others. That seems like a
What else-
looser.
What else we got going on?
What else we have going on? Okay, I wanted to talk about the names of startups, because there was a startup I mentioned yesterday at TechWire had a story. It was real
Are
estate.
you sure you're asking the right person? I'm the one that named the startup.
I'm asking someone who has
defunct dinosaur
I
that
know,
was mislabeled.
has very
and now
specific
this-
views.
After obscure Linux term tacked onto the word beat that somehow has made it.
I know you have strong views, and then the audience can judge the validity and wisdom of those views. But just the company's name, I think it's supposed to be pronounced Rainlist, like REIGN. But I think they should make it 2 words, Rain List with a capital L, because to me, when it's REIGN, like I wasn't sure whether it was like Reinlist, Reignite. It threw me off. So I think it's one of those that sounded better than it reads, which is I think. So what
my
are give me
opinion
some of
is-
your naming?
Yeah. You got to split the difference there. So I think
Okay.
part of it's on you, Pete, right? But part
I
of it,
can't read. Is that what?
your words, not mine, right?
Okay.
But I think when I think about names and I think about people name things for a lot of different reasons, right? And I think a lot of different names can be very successful. So I think it's cool to have a cool name, but clearly there are a lot of companies that have random names that have done pretty well for themselves, right? But I think if you're going to have a brand and you want to think of a better brand name versus a worse
Right.
brand name, which is often different than company name, it's fairly important for things to be easy to spell in a web
Yes.
world. And so if someone
And
says it
pronounce.
and pronounce, and I think there are plenty of examples where companies have been very successful without that. But if you're going to arbitrarily choose something, you might as well. And I think specifically with Rain, and we've talked about this, there's Rain that you could spell several different ways depending on the intent, right? And so I like names that are phonetically very easy. So Bronto, for example, is phonetically very easy to spell, at least in English, right? Grep, even though no one knows, most people don't know what that is very easy to, like you say grep, you might not know what it is, but you could spell it. Like has some hard consonants. And so
Can one? Okay, yeah, I guess I can spell it now.
I think so. I think so.
Yeah.
I think when you get number of vowels that are kind of together, it's more challenging. But there are
Jurassic
Plain-
is easy to spell. It's a word.
yeah, or it's recognizable in some kind of way.
Well, then you're in your dinosaur theme, which is a whole different.
Well, there's a whole other theme in terms of people believe, like for Bronto, it was very deliberate to have a name that would be labeled after an object or a thing, right? So when you long-term think of like branding, you can have something that's iconic. And so I was very much thinking of, let's say, Apple Computer. When you think of Apple Computer, you're not, because they've done a good job of branding that and being consistent and they didn't cheapen out, you're not thinking about bananas, you're not thinking about grapes, you're just thinking about that computer and the design aesthetic and all the things that it means. So if you go down that route, you just really want to make sure you don't cheapen it out by playing too much to it, right? That's a different thing. But
when I think of Apple, I think of Gwyneth and Chris Martin's kid named Apple.
I don't.
I mean,
Okay.
that's just how,
When I say, "Hey, Apple," that is the first.
I just, because I lived in LA, so obviously I was in the celebrity.
And you guys hung out a lot. Well, you did play
Here's
basketball with Adam Sandler, if I'm correct.
I did. We played I'm going to tell you a very quick Gwyneth and Chris Martin story and their kids. So their kids they attended.
Wait, one
they
second.
came in.
While you tell me, I'm
Okay.
going to put it on this banner just so everyone, the more you know.
Okay.
Oh,
They
wait. I'm sorry. Or is this a life lesson from Pete?
Actually, it can be both. It's more of a life lesson, probably.
Okay, I'll keep it on this one.
So they were putting these kids in a new school. It's like a nice, very nice private school, and it's in like the Hollywood Hills. And so they were new to it. And in the Hollywood Hills, I don't know if you've been there, it's very hilly, twisty, turny, narrow streets. And so the first day they show up, and Gwyneth and Chris Martin each rode scooters there with one kid each on the back. So A, it's dangerous where they were driving.
And obviously not trying to draw attention to themselves.
Right, exactly. B, it's like the first day of school, and most of these kids have been together for a long time. And it's not like being in LA, they're not the only famous people there. They're certainly not the only people in Hollywood. It's like, what are you doing? Like, you're putting a mark on these kids if you even get there, because it's dangerous to drive scooters in the Hollywood Hills. So it was not a big hit.
I boil it down to 2 or 3 life lessons that can be generalized that the audience can take away from
as a non-parent, I am hesitant to give parental tips.
Let's do it.
If I was to do it, like if you want your kids to blend into a new school, like don't do something really showy on the first day.
Okay, that's lesson 1.
2, don't be dangerous on motorized transport with your kids, or in general, but especially with your kids.
And to tie it up, the triple.
I don't know. I didn't have a third.
Okay, 3 on the screen. Okay, all right.
Now okay, don't name them Apple.
All right, there we go. Well, I think we've all learned something. So, all right, Christina likes the story. So it's good.
Also, when we talked about rain, I don't think the problem is that when you have rain, the G, the silent G in the middle, it just in English, it's very rare that a silent G would be in the middle of a word and not the next to last letter. Can you think of ones? I would say rain specifically is, in my opinion, the most mistaken rain. I've seen even in big publications.
I wouldn't put it number 1, but I agree.
What's number 1 then?
Intense. So for all intents and purposes.
Oh, come on. Anyone who that's a much more amateurish mistake.
Maybe I'm going for people's. So this is all very interesting, and clearly you have issue with this, and I think there's a longer conversation.
Is that what you're trying to say?
But I want to get into.
Okay.
So Jeff Bezos has stepped down.
Show, apparently. Okay.
No, Jeff Bezos stepped down as CEO of Amazon, and I'm sure he's been. I'm sure he's a large stakeholder. I mean, he is, and is very much involved, and his DNA is tied through everything there. And there's the new guy who had been there forever and had really led and come up with Amazon Web Services, which in itself is a hugely dominant part of Amazon, and the most profitable.
By
is
far,
someone you know, or a friend of a friend. So I want to know how you're connected to the new Amazon CEO.
You could argue it's friend of a friend of a friend, but that's
what's his name?
Andy Jassy is his name.
Andy Jassy.
So he went to Harvard a few years ahead of you, probably 3 years ahead of you, I guess. So this friend of mine went to Harvard with him, and so they're friends from that. And then, so when I had previous startup, or my only startup, this friend, who was a mutual friend, was an investor, and he did get something to Andy, and we were trying to propose to Amazon. Nothing really came of it. So apparently Andy Jassy was busy with, running Amazon Web Services, didn't have as much time to focus on our startup. But I have heard, though, that Bezos, that Jeff was a pretty good boss in that he did let the people running the divisions, mostly oversee their divisions. He wasn't a micromanager in all the elements of at least on on AWS on the cloud side. He did not.
We use Amazon Web Services for our new things. In fact, our new little partner portal, partners.grepbeat.com, which partners can have their newsfeed added to for a small fee. Please contact us.
Come see me after class.
Yes, actually runs on Amazon Web Services, and we use it to futz around with new products and new things that we're comfortable around. So I mean, it's obviously been around for a little while and it's evolved, but it's a force to be reckoned with.
I mean, it's the
very
biggest
dominant.
in that, right? I mean, I know now lots of Microsoft's making a big
Azure. Yeah, but I mean, Amazon.
Isn't that what the Red Hat thing was about in part?
Yeah, it was a slightly different approach to it. But I think in terms of the startup community, AWS is, obviously Google has one too, is most common. But Amazon Web Services, it starts off not so expensive, but it gets very expensive. So it's hard to get really big on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the gateway drug of startups, right? It's like it gets you in with a little EC2, maybe RDS a little bit, and the next thing you know.
But do you know how differentiated are various cloud? It's just kind of like, well, Amazon's big and they're cheap when you're starting out, so I'll do that. Or is it like, are some things much better? It's kind of like Google had,
So Google, better, so one of our earlier projects, we did some stuff on Google Cloud and Google, I believe, Kubernetes, which is kind of a technology that's used to kind of scale things out. I believe it's from Google, so the Google Cloud was really strong there. But I think broadly, the advantage of being big and dominant is you tend to be better documented. You tend to have more different pieces. And so if you're just starting off and you're getting kind of far, it sometimes is better to go with the leader because there's just more information out there. And it's just kind of easier. There are more options. And that's definitely true with Amazon Web Services. It's just kind of, I haven't played much with Google Cloud. I think it depends what you're doing. But if I was just going to choose one and didn't really kind of matter, I would go with Amazon. And then later on, I might figure out something else. You also could use multiple ones too. I mean, by definition, how you structure things, it's not all in one big thing. It's you're kind of decentralized and spreading things around. So you can use Amazon over here, Google over there.
Okay. So
either way, it's big business and Amazon. What's so impressive about Amazon is it's one thing, and it's hard to be really good at one business, but to truly incubate and build another business that's kind of a completely different space and be very dominant in that, and you didn't just buy into it, that is all-star founder CEO. I mean, you get triple gold star for that kind of stuff.
I wonder whether they would ever, like you say, it's a very different business than retail. Almost everything else is something, forking off of those, maybe like delivery and then the trucks, but that's a natural thing. Like
it's the highest margin, most profitable one too.
Like why would not spin that off? I guess
they might, like they could. I mean, they could in the future. I think that is more driven by, are they required to in the future by antitrust? I think having all their numbers together gives them a little more flexibility from a financial profile, like they can kind of commingle things a little bit more. I mean, why split it out until you have to? So,
So now someone asked Christina, because I didn't want to talk about the Apple car. If Apple made a car, are we talking about Apple the kid? We're not.
So Apple, no, we are not talking about Gwyneth's Apple.
Okay.
Because that's not what 99% of people think about when they think of Apple. They think of Apple Computer, the dominant.
Yes, I enjoy Apple.
So Apple, or at least came out or discovered that they are going to partner with Kia to potentially build a car, I assume electric.
Yes, but driverless. They're planning no driver.
Yeah, so it's a few years out, but so they had to kind of partner with someone that was big enough and real enough, but same one willing enough to do something kind of interesting, creative. And it's also neat that they manufacture those in Georgia. So I don't know, by that time in a few years, I might be in the market for a new car because it's going to come up on my 10-year mark. I'm kind of a hold the cars for a long time.
Right, but they're going intentionally from the start, not for the driver market, but for like robo taxis and other.
Well,
it's intended to not have a driver.
Oh, okay. Well, that changes my options then.
Right. Well, I'm just that's why you should read like the story.
I'm more of a headline reader.
Headline. I actually didn't know that.
But I do like Christina's joke That's really kind of clever. I was like, there's a joke in here. And it's like, ah,
Oh, they
that's
have
good.
Windows. It's like a PC versus Mac.
Yeah, see,
joke.
I get it.
All right, yeah, that's good stuff.
Yeah, see, there we go. Getting it
Maybe if it was
together.
a capital W, would it? Yeah, that's. Well, what is the first emoji that she has there? Is that like has glasses or something?
Yeah, has glasses. Like
Like those.
clever, smart.
It's not like funny glasses with like a big
No,
nose.
I think they're professional and well put on.
Oh, it's a
glasses.
smart joke.
Yeah,
Like that's what.
obviously not everyone got it, but whatever. Hey,
No, I got it. I'm just saying like what the
okay, now
particular emoji means.
she's
She's known for it.
yeah, it's just everyone knows. It's just obvious. So,
All right,
well, thank you. So
it
it's
is
about that time.
12:30. Yeah. So, what do I say anything before, or I know you have to play the outro? So why don't you
Oh
just
yeah,
tell
yeah, yeah,
people-
yeah. Why don't you just close us out and then I
Okay.
can do the video thing.
So everyone, of course, come back next week at noon. Also subscribe to the Grep newsletter every Tuesday and Thursday, lunchtime-ish. And we'll see everyone soon in whatever form we see you.
All right, see everyone.